guys, it's Jasba. Today we're making a cream cheese roll cake. This is a very easy cake to make. We're going to make a sponge cake, fill it with some cream cheese frosting, roll it up, and top it off with some more cream cheese frosting. This is a very delicious cake and it is a great way to impress your guests. So let's get started. For the ingredients, there are two parts. For the sponge cake, you will need 6 large eggs, half a cup of white granulated sugar, 1 cup of all-purpose flour, and 1 teaspoon of baking powder. And for the cream cheese frosting, you will need 3/4 cup of icing sugar or powdered sugar, 3/4 cup of softened cream cheese, 1½ cups of heavy whipping cream, and 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. First, preheat your oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit, and now we're going to get started with the sponge cake. But if you're making this in a very hot weather, you want to put the whipping cream back into the fridge so it doesn't go bad. Today I'm going to be making my sponge cake in a stand mixer, but you could use a hand mixer or you could do it by hand, but it will be quite a workout. So starting off, I have a whisk attachment on my stand mixer and I'm going to crack all 6 of my eggs into it. Then I'm going to add the sugar and beat this on high until it is almost white in color. Alright, this is ready. As you can see, it's almost white in color. It is very nice and pale. It has definitely doubled in size. And you want to make sure your eggs reach this stage because this is what's going to give your sponge cake a nice and airy texture. So now I'm going to mix the baking powder with the flour so that there are no clumps when we're baking it. Now I'm going to sift 1/3 of the flour into the egg mixture, and then I'm going to fold it in very gently so that I do not deflate it, and then I'm going to do that with the rest of the flour. And I'm going to add the flour into the eggs in very small intervals so that it doesn't clump up too much. Once the flour is mixed in, sift in another 1/3 of the flour. Once all of my flour is gently folded into my egg mixture, I have a jelly roll pan here, which is 15 by 10 inches, and I'm just going to pour all of my batter into that, and I have lined it with a piece of parchment paper. And just very gently spread it to the edges. Once the batter is spread out to all of the corners, place this into the oven preheated at 350 degrees Fahrenheit for about 15 minutes. My sponge cake has baked for about 15 minutes. It has nice and golden browned on top, and I've tested it with a toothpick and it came out clean. That means it's done. So now I'm going to run a butter knife around the edges to loosen it. Alrighty. And now I have a clean kitchen towel, so I'm just going to flip the sponge cake right on top of this. And you want to make sure the towel is clean. And just peel off the parchment paper. I folded in one edge, so now I'm just going to roll it up nice and tight. You want to make sure you do this when it's warm because when it cools, it will crack when you roll it up. So now, I'm going to leave it onto a cooling rack until it cools. While the cake is cooling, we're going to get working with our cream cheese frosting. So I have some cream cheese here softened at room temperature, and you want to make sure it's soft or it's going to be very hard to turn into a frosting. So I'm going to add this into the stand mixer bowl, but you can use a hand mixer or do this by hand. And I'm just going to beat this on medium speed until it becomes a little airier and creamier. I just whipped this up for about a minute and it's a little fluffier now, so I'm going to add in the powdered sugar and the vanilla extract. And just beat that on high speed until it becomes nice and fluffy, but remember to start slow so you don't get icing sugar in your face. I have beaten this for about 3 minutes and it has thickened a little. When you add it in the powdered sugar, it looks like it's very liquidy, but now that it has thickened, it could sort of hold a soft peak. So now just give the sides of the bowl a scrape and we can start adding in the whipping cream. And now for the whipping cream, I'm going to be adding half of it into the cream cheese first. I'm going to beat it until it forms a soft peak, and then I'm going to add in the rest of the whipping cream. And it will look very soupy at first, but if you just keep beating it, it will come together. So just beat this on high until it forms a soft peak. Beaten this until it holds a soft peak, so I'm going to add in the rest of the whipping cream. And just beat that on high speed until it could hold a stiff peak. I have beaten my frosting until it could hold a stiff peak. So now I'm just going to set it aside and wait for the cake to cool completely. Once my cake is cooled, I'm going to unroll it. I'm going to spread half of the cream cheese frosting onto the middle of the cake as a filling. And leave about an inch between the edge because you don't want it squirting out when you're rolling up the cake. Once I spreaded the cream cheese all over the cake, I'm going to start to roll it up. I have finished rolling up my cake, and as you can see, there are a little bit of cream cheese that squirted out the bottom. So I'm just going to clean that up slightly with my spatula. Now I'm just going to lightly coat the whole entire cake with some cream cheese frosting, and it doesn't have to be a really thick coat, just make it nice and thin. have finished coating my whole cake with some frosting, and this is called a crumb coat, which is when you coat a cake with a very light layer of frosting, which catches all the crumbs so it doesn't get into the final layer. Now I'm going to load the rest of the frosting into a piping bag fitted with a round nozzle. I have filled my piping bag with cream cheese frosting, and I'm pushing it all the way to the bottom. And you want to twist the top so no frosting comes out the other end. And if you don't have a piping bag, you just load it into a Ziploc bag and snip off the tip. So now we can start decorating. And what I'm going to do is pipe small dollop of frosting on the end, and then I'm going to smooth it out with a spoon, and you'll see what I mean in just a second. And now I have a small spoon, this is about a teaspoon, and I'm just going to take the dollop and just smush it out with the back of my spoon. Then pipe another dollop of the frosting onto each one. I have decorated my cake, and now for an optional touch, I'm going to be sprinkling on some cocoa powder. And that's how you make a cream cheese roll cake. This is very beautiful, as you can see. It's very easy to make, and it is obviously very delicious. The cake inside is nice and spongy, and the cream cheese frosting is nice and sweet. I've made this for many friends, and they all really liked it, so I hope you could try it out as well. So thanks for watching, and see you guys next time. Bye!